the Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Italian Football Podcast. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima Tavali. On today's show we will react to the weekend Serie A action, the final weekday before the international break as Italy play in the UEFA Nations League. And we'll start with a quite incredible Sunday evening game in Florence between Fiorentina and Milan, which had 3 goals, 3 missed penalties, and 2 red cards. One of the most eventful games you'll ever see. Douglas Luiz's horror show at Juventus goes from bad to worse as he concedes a late penalty that costs Juve 2 massive points at home against Cagliari. We also look at what Juventus will do to replace Bremer after he was ruled out for the rest of the season with an ACL. And we'll also react to the news that Paul Pogba's drug ban has been reduced and he will return to football in March. What will happen to Pogba and his contract at Juventus? Will he stay? Will his contract be terminated? At Inter, Marcus Thuram hits a hat-trick as Inter win a 5-goal thriller against Torino. Napoli stay top of Serie A after beating an impressive Como team. Atalanta enjoy a comeback week with 2 big wins and a free score in Mateo Retegui. And as I said, we will preview Italy's Nations League game against Belgium. We'll also have our usual Baggio, Premface and Serie Ass of the week. For all our first-time listeners, this is our free weekly episode that we do every Monday, reviewing the weekend Serie A action and all the biggest talking points in Italian football. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast and receive all of our content that we do throughout the week, including a weekly Q&A episode every Tuesday where we answer all of the questions from our patrons, plus the weekly Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much, much more, then go to patreon.com/TIFP and become a subscriber for just $2.99 a month plus VAT. You can also sign up to be a paid subscriber on Spotify. We'll provide the link in the description. It's the same price, the same terms. So for all of you that do listen on Spotify, Apple and iTunes podcasts, we'd really appreciate it if you give us a 5-star rating, give us a follow and a like. Also, do subscribe to us on YouTube as well. All of that really helps us to grow and do more quality content for you guys. Okay, let's get into today's show. So we'll start off with the Sunday evening game, Fiorentina against Milan at the Stadio Franchi. Incredible game, 3 goals, 3 missed penalties, 2 red cards. It was unbelievable. I don't know when was the last time I saw a game in Serie A with 3 missed penalties, but it was for Fiorentina. The hero, of course, was David De Gea with 2 brilliant penalty saves. I thought world-class penalty saves from De Gea, which is quite strange because anybody that followed him at Manchester United knew that he used to get mocked at Man United for being so bad at penalties. He went 9 years without saving a penalty at one stage at Man United, and he's already saved 3 already at Fiorentina, including two in this game, Nima.
Yeah, it was a crazy game. It's a game it's almost impossible to analyze because of the fact that it was so crazy. There was so much madness going on, and just trying to break down some sort of coherent analysis of a game that is so back and forth and up and down, and so many chances created, so many bad misses, woodwork being hit, poor penalties being given, penalties being saved. I mean, it was just mad. It was a crazy, crazy game, and no matter. I mean, for me, when I look at this and I'm thinking, okay, well, did Milan deserve to lose? I think probably not. Did Fiorentina deserve to lose? No. Was a draw fair? Well, not really. I mean, I can't. It's just I'm trying to still understand what I actually watched. It was absolutely crazy. What I do think, though, and I think we should talk about is, so far, I think up until match day 6, the referees have been really, really good. I think they've held a consistent level. Pairetto, horror show, absolute horror show. Completely destabilized this game with ridiculous calls, causing players to not know what the line was, what the limit was, what they could do. This could have gone completely haywire. And again, it just goes to show that there are good referees in the Serie A, but the poor ones are dreadful. And this is just he could have ruined this game.
Well, he kind
Luckily,
of did.
he didn't.
He turned it into what Fonseca called at the end of the game a circus.
It was a circus.
He turned it into a circus. And no, I agree with you. I think the refereeing generally has been quite good up until this week, and I extend that also in the Champions League in Europe as well. I mean,
same.
it was a horrendous week. The referees in the Milan game, the Juventus game, and then in this game again, just horrendous, awful refereeing, and it turned it into a circus, like Fonseca said. And I'll just repeat what I've been saying probably for at least a couple of years on this podcast. Too many cheap penalties. And Fonseca said the same thing, even though Milan got 2 in this game. Fonseca said, he says, I, who love football, do not want to contribute to this circus. Everything is a penalty now, in our favour or against. This is not going all when you give a penalty for the slightest touch. And there are too many cheap penalties given in football today. I mean, in this game, there's barely a touch on Dodò for the Fiorentina penalty. The second penalty for Milan for the clearance from Keane is just an absolute joke. But in general, it's just too easy to get penalties nowadays. I mean, contact, as we've said, should not equal a penalty. And in today's day and age, any slight contact generally is given as a penalty. And I've said, I know you don't agree with me. You agree with me there. You don't agree with me. I go as far as to say that I believe penalties are an outdated concept. I think the punishment does not fit the crime. You get your penalty is an XG of 0.8, right? So 80% of the time you're going to score. Didn't happen in this game, but generally 80% of the time you're going to score for an incident where often there is a 0 XG often in penalties. There's a 0 XG on that Dodò one. There's a 0 XG on the Keane one. There's no. So the crime does not fit in the majority, the vast majority of penalties. The crime does not even get close. The punishment does not even get close to fitting the crime. So I think that there needs to be a rethink. I don't have the answer for it, but there needs to be a rethink on.
No, I don't think you need to change and remove penalties. I think you should just basically do what they've done the first 6 match days, and that is they're not going to give cheap penalties. They're not going to give penalties for every single touch. The Fiorentina penalty was I couldn't believe what I was watching, because there's barely a touch. Again, we don't give cheap penalties. That's what Rocky said. We don't want to do that. Just because there's a contact, it's not a penalty. That is just I couldn't understand how he could. Even if the VAR told him and come and look at it, he shouldn't have given it. Same thing with the Milan second one. I mean, that's more. If to be fair to him, at least he's consistent, because if the Dodò one is a penalty, then that one's a penalty too. But I don't think either of them are a penalty. The Reinders one, that's you're blocking the movement of a player. You're not even on the ball. Similar to Juventus Cagliari, you have to give that. It's an obstruction in the penalty area. But these cheap penalties are the ones that they should not be given. And that was just, it was crazy. And he and like I said, I think the first 6 match days have been great, but this weekend was full of cheap penalties. I mean, same thing in Torino Inter. There's barely a touch there. It was unfortunate, because I think we've had a very good level so far in the Serie A the first six match days, and I hope that Rocky nips this in the bud and has suspends those referees, or has a talk with them and say, no, this is we want to continue where we started. Let's not deviate from that, because it creates this circus, as exactly like Fonseca said. I thought his post-match comments were spot on about the penalty situations. And it's it was a crazy game. Okay, De Gea, it didn't really impact the game because all penalties were saved at the end of it, if we're perfectly honest. But it does kind of it does impact the game so far as it makes the players be scared to go into challenges and they don't know where the line is.
Yeah,
and
and it
what they
makes
can.
them nervous as well. I mean, we saw like Teo Hernandez get sent off at the end of the game, because he's in a obviously he's in
his
control of his
mental state,
emotion, but it turns it into a circus. When you have a circus, you have clowns, and and
exactly.
clowns get themselves sent off, like Teo has, and that's going to be very costly for Milan.
Yeah,
but
Palladino got sent off as well. I mean, it was all of this stems from a referee that destabilized the environment completely, and it was unfortunate. It was very unfortunate and very unnecessary. But removing from that, so both of these teams, I mean, Goodmanson and Pulisic aside, boy, do these teams need a killer in the penalty area. Like, you can't create this much chances and only have 3 goals. I mean, even if you count the penalties, 3 penalty misses. I think De Gea's penalty saves were good, but anytime the goalkeeper saves a penalty, it's great on the goalkeeper. But they were not good penalties, any of them.
Well, they weren't right in the corner, but they were hit with such power and they were low.
They're straight at the goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper's so good now.
I don't think they were. I mean, listen, I don't think they were anywhere. They weren't get close enough to the corners, but I thought,
where they should be.
But I still thought they were brilliant. I still thought they were brilliant penalty saves because the power that was in them to manage to turn that with a strong hand around the post. I thought we have to also give big credit to De Gea. Of course, he missed a penalty. That's also.
But Magnion's was more impressive to me. The way he glues the ball, as we say.
Well, the way he held onto it, but
glued it.
But I thought Keane's penalty was the one really bad one.
It was
literally almost in the middle of the goal, whereas the others weren't. But listen, at the end of the day, you have to give massive credit. I mean, I thought he was brilliant in this game, and he rolled back the years. This was kind of going back to the De Gea when at his peak at Man United, when he used to save Man United all the time.
Yeah, but he was outstanding yesterday. He was really good. But
I thought Adli was very. I thought if we're talking about Fiorentina, I thought Adli was really, really good. He had a point to prove. In the first half, he really dominated the centre midfield. He bullied Reinders, and he scored a really, really nice goal. Not a kind of goal that we saw at Milan. So that was good from Adli.
He is a fantastic. Look, you know how much I like this guy. I think the talent is there. It's a shame that he never was able to express that at Milan. Similarly to De Ketelaere, it just didn't work out for him there. But he is a fantastically talented player, and I think he's going to do really well at Fiorentina. And that goal just showed it. He has that ability to do those things. He is technically incredibly gifted. But it was a very entertaining game as far as Sunday. I mean, anyone who watched it will remember it.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to stick on Fiorentina before we move on to Milan. But I mean, I thought Keane had a really ridiculously eventful game, but also an unlucky game. I mean, he missed a penalty. It was a bad penalty, but he gave away a penalty, but shouldn't have been given. But he missed a huge chance at 1-1 from a Gosens cross, which he should be putting away, and that's his weakness. It's his finishing. Still, he still snatches at his shots, and he goes for kind of, I think, low XG finishes. I think personally, but he assisted the winner. And he hit the bar in injury time with one of the best strikes I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was
unbelievable. It was
technically that was such a difficult.
It was like Balotelli against Germany. Yeah, it was like like a rocket. It was like, oh my god.
He's got good shooting technique, Moise Keane.
Yeah, he has. Like when he strikes it right. But his all-round game and his physicality, I thought, was really impressive in this game, and he very much deserves to be in the Italy squad. And I'll say it again. I've said it before. Juventus made a mistake getting rid of him. They should have kept him. He would have been very, very useful to Juventus. And I think even just like the way he puts himself about, the way that he presses, the way he works with the team, I think it would have fitted in with like what Thiago Motta wants. Obviously, his finishing is a problem, and that's but that's where he needs to improve to get to the next level. But overall, his numbers are pretty good this season for a team that has had a slow start. So I think that him and Goodmanson, who obviously got the winner, I think they are going to be a good partnership this season. If Goodmanson, obviously, his legal case goes the way and he actually is able to play, then I think these two will get Fiorentina.
No, but Goodmanson is concrete in the sense that when he doesn't mess about in finishing positions. He's very resolute in his finishing. And I think that's why he will score quite a bit, because whenever he gets the chance, it's almost always on target. And you know that means there's a higher chance of scoring, of course. But no, I think they're a decent strike partnership. Those two. But to me, Colpani was a mess in this game. It was atrocious to watch him. But overall, I thought the midfield, Fiorentina's midfield was what impressed me the most.
First half, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
First half. Second half was more kind of open, more
Yeah.
kind of end to end. But it was, good for Fiorentina. They're picking up now. They've got 3 wins in their last 4, and they put themselves into a position in the league where they can kind of kick on from now. So I think it's certainly more positive for.
Well, there are only 2 wins this season against Milan and Lazio. So, teams above them. So the problem clearly is that when they're playing lesser teams, and they play Lecce after the international break, and that's a game they're going to have to win in order to get some continuity. So
they did beat TMZ in the Europa
No,
League.
yeah, they're the New South, I think they're called, or something.
New Saints.
New Saints, sorry, the New Saints, yeah, the Welsh team.
That's right, yeah. But I mean, let's move on to Milan. I think this was a big blow and step back for Milan after the Leverkusen performance, because what we've seen since the derby is we saw improvements in all the things that we were critical of Milan at the start of the season when Fonseca's job was on the line, in terms of the solidity of the team, the organisation, the structure, but also the mental strength. And I think they took steps back in all of those. I mean, they defended badly. And I mean, obviously, if you can see 2 penalties, if you can see the penalty and the goal they conceded for the winner was unacceptable, which is, I think Gabbia said himself after the game, like, Tomori's defending on that winner. That's schoolboy.
What is he doing?
I mean, listen, at any level, even if you're a school kid at 8 years, 7 years old, if you concede a goal off a goal kick where the centre back comes out and misses the header, you're getting crucified. You're probably getting dropped as an 8-year-old school kid. And Tomori's doing that at Serie A level. So I mean, that's unacceptable. And again, I've said it before. Tomori doesn't read the game or position himself well enough when it comes to the aerial side of the game. Whether that's from
nervous.
mostly from crosses, but also now from basic goal kicks. And
no, to me, I just get this feeling that he comes across like he's nervous on the pitch, in the sense that he doesn't know his position, doesn't know what to do. He overthinks it, and then he tries to do 2 things at once, and ends up not doing any of it.
He can be a bit erratic and impulsive with his positioning, but I think that's definitely amplified when it comes to the aerial side of the game. Because I never feel relaxed whenever a cross comes into the box. And Tomori's
know that's
I never
his
feel
weakness.
relaxed that he's going to be in the right position, or he's going to win his header, or he's going to hold the line. I mean, the defensive line. I mean, Gabbia's like 10 yards behind Tomori on that goal kick. I mean, what's going on with that defensive line? I mean, that's not just on Tomori and Gabbia. That's also on Fonseca. Again, coming back to the kind of, the organisation and the structure of the team. So that, I mean, they took a step back there. And I think mentally, they also took a step back, because we were critical of them that mentally the team wasn't all together. Obviously with that was best exemplified with the incident of Teo and Rafael Leao when they didn't come over for the cooling break, obviously. But that's improved. They've been very much
more a team.
They've been playing as a team. There's been unity and everything. And I'm not saying that wasn't the case, but we've seen, obviously, whenever you miss 2 penalties in a game, and whenever you get like a stupid sending off for shouting at the ref at full time from Teo, that's an indictment on your mental side of the game. Those are mental qualities where you've fallen short on. So I think that
this is what I mean. Why I said, even when Milan were winning 3 games in a row, I said, look, I don't think they're going to be in the Scudetto race, because I don't think they're a finished product. I think they're still a work in progress under Fonseca. And when you're a kind of work in progress in terms of, finding your roles tactically and also mentally in this new environment, then you don't have that consistency of results about you in order to mount a serious title challenge. I still think Milan are going to finish comfortably in the top 4 without much problems. I just don't see them in the title race because of that. Because of these kinds of errors, which I think they are still prone to making. Of course, I think it's going to improve. Question is how much it's going to improve and how much stability they're going to get. But overall, this is such a difficult game to analyze because from both aspects. Because again, it was just so, it had no real rhythm to it, and it just felt like chances. Everything was just chance, and it was individual mistakes, and it was horrible unforced errors like Tomori's, and then you have a referee who turned it into a circus. And I don't know, it didn't feel like it's a really difficult game to analyze for me. But what I will say is that Theo, one thing that Fonseca said after the game that I found somewhat weird is they had decided that Pulisic is going to be the penalty taker, but they got 2 penalties and Pulisic didn't take a single one.
That's again, that comes down to
that makes no sense.
But that also comes down to Xen, how they've taken a step back. A well-run, oiled, structured team, that's run properly and professionally, does not do stuff like that. You have a penalty taker, you know who your penalty taker is. You don't start deciding who among yourselves, changing the order.
But it happened with Fiorentina as well, because Goodmanson is the one that takes penalties at Fiorentina, but for some reason Moise Kean took one. It's strange. It was a strange game.
No, definitely. The choice of penalty takers that's just unforgivable. That's just unprofessional. I mean,
it happened on both teams.
Moise Kean has taken 3 penalties in his career. He'd actually scored all 3 of them, but he's taken 3 penalties in his entire career. He should not be taking the penalty for Fiorentina.
Yeah, but for Milan, Goodmanson have taken 2 this season already and scored both. So I don't get it.
For Milan, Theo Hernandez has taken 7 penalties in his career. He scored 4 of them. He's missed 3. Yeah. So he should not be taking the penalty. As for Tammy Abraham, he's got a very good record on penalties. To be fair, before the game he'd scored 17, missed 3. So he actually has
that's a good record.
He actually has an outstanding record. But again, if you've got a penalty taker, you've got a penalty taker. And Pulisic again was positive in this game. He scored. I thought it was a brilliant goal that he scored. He was a 4 games in a row. But I thought the best moment for Pulisic, that pass for Reinders for the penalty.
That was so good.
Oh my god, he's
so good.
He's like falling over. He's on one leg. And he's
on his knees when he's making that pass.
Somehow manages to maneuver his body with the outside of his boot on one leg and put him through with a through ball. I thought that was brilliant. I mean, that deserved the goal, that did.
Well, I did say when he joined that I think he's going to be the first US men's national team player to become a star at a classic football club, at a football royalty club like Milan. And he literally is. He's been Milan's best and most important player this season. And he continues to shine, and he continues to put himself forward to be a leader at Milan.
Yeah, no, and as I've said again, he's the only one that week in, week out you can actually rely on at Milan, and more than the so-called big stars such as Theo and Leao.
He's becoming really.
You can't rely on them.
A
you don't know what you're going to get. 1 week they're on it, 1 week they're not. They go through.
But with Pulisic, it's just it's the consistency. Like his lowest low is actually rather high for Milan. So
his lowest low is he's going to be a team player and work for the team. You know?
And you know what you're going to get there.
And the Leao and Theo's lowest low is their reliability. So that's the problem. We have to.
Well, especially with Theo, who gets him. This needs to stop. Like he's no longer a kid. He can't get himself sent off for mouthing off.
No, that's exactly what I said the other week. These players like Theo and Leao are supposed to be the leaders.
Yeah,
and that they're supposed to be the best players, and they're supposed to be an example to the rest of the team. Now, when they're doing it, that creates a terrible environment and culture for the team to create a winning team. It does. You just can't create a winning team when your so-called leaders are behaving like that. But
I think this red card thing with Theo mouthing off to the referee, it's something that he needs to show growth there. He's not a kid anymore. He's not this young up and coming kid. He's actually an established player, and he needs to start behaving accordingly. It's exactly like with Nicolo Barella and his negative body language. It's like you're not a child anymore. Look at the players that are your own age and act like them. You know,
Absolutely.
You're no longer just an up and coming player. You need to grow mentally. You need to be mature.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to Juventus now. Juventus will be kicking themselves for drawing this game against Cagliari. They draw 1-1 with an 88th minute penalty. Juventus had so many chances
They really did.
to kill this game. Vlahovic, who actually...
How did he miss that? He was good.
He actually played well up until that. That's just unforgivable. It's an unmissable
You have
chance.
to score that.
Yeah, I don't know what the XG on that, but it must be close to. It must be about 0.9 something. I mean, how you missed that chance is unbelievable. And I mean, Koopmeiners missed a big chance, and they were just so dominant, so much the better team. And Cagliari didn't create a chance all game. They created nothing, and then they score a penalty with 2 minutes to go after a Douglas Luiz nightmare. Really, it is a nightmare now. We have to say it is a caso now. I mean, he doesn't start this game. He comes on. I mean, he came on the other day in midweek and gave away a penalty.
Gave away a penalty there
first
too,
one, which I actually thought was a bit unlucky. But this one is just... He's
clumsy. He's late
clumsy,
and he's clumsy. He gets nutmegged. He's nowhere near the ball.
Yeah.
It's looking bad.
It's a nightmare for him. He's having a nightmare. He's obviously really low on confidence now. He's really nervous when he comes on. He's making mistakes. I don't know. It's unbelievable, really. You spend 50 million on this player to be kind of like your main man in midfield, along with Koopmeiners, and he's now probably like last in the pecking order. And now when he plays on, he's costing the Juventus, and this is a really, really costly 2 points. This is Cagliari at home. You've got to win these games. You've got to win these games. You cannot drop points in matches like this against Cagliari. These are your gimmies. So it's very frustrating for Juventus. And then, of course, to make matters worse, Conceição gets sent off as well. And now Juventus are decimated in attack for the Lazio game. The next game's against Lazio, who are on fire at the moment. They're playing brilliant. And Juventus is going to go into that game with no Conceição, no Gonzalez. I don't know how bad Koopmeiner's injury is, and apparently it's only minor, but we'll see. So, all of a sudden, Juventus go from, they're now behind Inter, they're 3 points behind Napoli, and they've got a game against Lazio with a decimated attack, and all of a sudden the pressure's on them. So it's a very frustrating afternoon for Juventus.
It's a frustrating afternoon results-wise, absolutely. But I do think there is something about Juve that is, they're at the beginning, you get that feeling that they're beginning of something big. And you saw that in the Champions League as well, where they showed unbelievable character. And Conceição scored what is that finish? It's an unbelievable finish. But he is a little bit unpolished, and you could say that. I personally don't like second yellows for simulation when...
He's a hothead, isn't he? I mean, his dad was a bit...
His dad was exactly like
his dad was a bit of a hothead. I'm sure I remember his dad getting sent off before as well. Like
but I do want to say I don't like when referees show second yellow to players for simulation when it's not as clear cut. There is contact. He's got an arm on him. It's not a penalty. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but it's not.
Okay, I agree.
He falls easily, but it's not. You don't.
He played for it. There's no doubt. I mean, he felt the contact and dived. There's no doubt about that. But I agree. I feel like when there's a touch like that, when there is contact, I don't think, because the way that, for anybody that's played football at any level will tell you that it's a natural instinct in today's day and age that when you feel contact, you're naturally, that it's just human instinct to go down. That is just naturally kind of what happens. So he felt the contact. He doesn't know if the contact is going to continue or if the contact is going to be firmer. So he feels the contact, and his natural instinct is to start to go down. It wasn't a penalty. It was a dive. But I think that I agree with you. I think it is. I think that's
too
a bit harsh. I think the criticism of Conceição is the first yellow more than anything. He went in for a stupid, unnecessary tackle off the ball on a player who'd been hacking him all game. And that was obviously him losing his cool. And
he is a hothead. A hothead. And no, I agree with you on that. But I think the second yellow was very, very harsh. The first yellow, he's an idiot. What kind of a challenge is that? Yeah. But no, I think the referees should be a little bit more
I also think the VAR...
sensible.
I also think that when it comes to diving and simulation, it's like you see, like you'll only ever get a booking for simulation or a second booking and get sent off for simulation if the referee calls it. You're never going to get VAR to call it or to overrule it, which I think is sometimes is a bit unfair, because I saw an incident where Tammy Abraham tried to win a penalty with a clear dive at the end of the game against Fiorentina, where their player's not even close to him, and he goes down and he tries to play for the penalty. The referee, the VAR actually checked it to see if it was a penalty or not, and obviously rightfully didn't give the penalty. But because the referee doesn't call it as a simulation, which it was a clear simulation, he doesn't get a yellow card, and obviously the VAR can't give a yellow card. They can only give a penalty or a red. So he gets away with it. So I think that is also a little bit, I guess that's how it is, but that's also a little bit unfair. I think that some people can get away with it because the referee didn't see it and the VAR can't call it, and those can get it for something that's actually quite harsh, as is in the case with Conceição. But yeah, I think it's overall though. I think that Juventus should have won this game, and it's frustrating. I mean, it's been a difficult week for you. It's been it's been a roller coaster week for Juventus. With everything that went on with Leipzig, without Bremer. I thought the defense without Bremer, I mean, he didn't concede anything. I thought they looked a little bit more susceptible on the counter without Bremer's pace. There was a couple of incidences in the first half that came to nothing, but against better teams could come to something. But I mean, Cagliari had a 0.3 xG without the penalty, a non-penalty xG of 0.3. So that, I mean, they really didn't concede nothing. But we'll really see kind of how much Juventus will miss Bremer when against the better teams, really, and that's when they're probably gonna be affected. So I mean, let's look at Bremer and how Juventus will replace him. He's torn his ACL. He's out for the season. It is a massive blow in terms of the Scudetto race, because Juventus is probably the most irreplaceable player in the team. He's their most consistent player. He's the one established star in defence. So far, luckily, Kalulu has really stepped up. He's been really great. He was really good in this game as well. Juventus are going to need Kalulu to really play like that for the whole season if they're going to kind of get over this Bremer miss. But I mean, I think for the Scudetto chances, it's a crushing blow, and I think Juventus Motta's going to really have to do something special, I think, to try.
I don't think it has any impact on their Scudetto charge, because I think the quality of Juve overall is built strong enough to do without Bremer. However, their chances in the Champions League are severely damaged, because he was fundamental to keeping the line at that level defensively, and keeping them, when they press, and because of how quick he is and how good he is at winning the ball high up and so on. It's much more important in Europe than in the Serie A. I think, of course it hurts them in the Serie A, but I don't think it's a crushing blow in the Serie A. It is a crushing blow in Europe. And I think now you have to think, what do they do?
Giuntoli spoke about this. He says they definitely won't sign a free agent. So that's Sergio Ramos, Matip kind of out of the way. Not that, I mean, I think that would have been a disastrous decision anyway. He did say that they will look at the January market potentially, see who's available, see what the budget is. I do think that it does leave them short. I mean, I think they already were short. I mean, they've got Gatti and Kalulu as the first choice centre back duo. Then you have Danilo or Savona at right back, so you've weakened your right back. And then you've got Cambiasso at left back, or you could move Cambiasso over to right back, play Cabal at left back, and then keep Kalulu and Gatti at centre back. But it also, obviously, the options, the number of options, so many games, you can't play. These players can't play every single game either. So I think that they probably do need to. They do need to look at probably bringing someone in.
Cabal, I think, is going to be more in. Is going to be key here, because he's the only one with that kind of with those traits. He's a very physical defender. He's aggressive, likes to win the ball high up. So we'll see what they do. But I do think Cabal could be the answer.
But there is something that needs to be done with these ACLs. I don't want to speak about this in too much detail, because I have actually set up an interview with a top physiotherapist, sports scientist, medical expert to talk about ACL injuries and why, what is going on, not just in Italy but everywhere.
Everywhere.
Because this weekend we've had an ACL for Carvajal, possibly for Zapata. That hasn't been confirmed in the Torino Inter game. And then, of course, the Bremer ACL earlier in the week. And then we've had Rodri, which was the last week or the week before for Manchester City as well. There's been, listen to this, in 2024, there have been 38 cruciate ligament injuries in Europe's top 5 leagues. There's been 17 ACLs already in the 2024-25 season. We're only at the start of October. Serie A leads the way by quite a distance, which is something that I've been going on about, and I've had people say, it's just a coincidence.
No,
it's not. It's not a coincidence. Serie A has had 6 ACL injuries already this season. They've had 12 in 2024, which is double the number of any other league. No, La Liga's actually had 11, actually, but the Premier League's had 5. La Liga's had correction. La Liga's had 4 in 2024, 3 this season. Premier League's had 5 in 2024, 1 this season. Liga is the other one that's kind of comparable to Serie A. They've had 11 ACLs. Liga 6 this season. Then there's Serie A with 12 in total in 2024, 6 this season. Bundesliga 6 in total, 1 this season. But Serie A could go up to 13 and 7 if Zapata is confirmed, which I think I've seen a lot of reports saying that they think that is an ACL. So yeah, there's clearly a reason why this happens, and we'll go into that in the interview with an expert, an ACL expert, and why this is happening. But something needs to be done about it because it's obviously a big problem in football right now.
No, it is, it absolutely is, and it's not they it's everyone sees. I mean, Rodri, before he said it, he was very vocal about the number of games, and I still maintain that that's part of it.
Of course it is. That's probably the biggest reason.
Yeah, for me. It's, you can't, ever since COVID, like you said, and we were talking about, they've not had a single minutes of rest. And they're human beings. They're not robots. And this is just going to get worse. And the game is killing itself, because if the if the best players continue to have these serious career-ending injuries where they can't recover from, well, then the sport is eating itself.
Oh yeah, the Italy national team has been so badly affected by ACLs because we've lost 2 potentially generational talents in Chiesa and Zaniolo, who never became the players that they could have become because of the ACLs. They've returned as shadows of themselves, and that's just 2. There's been others, so many others as well. So at the moment, Scamacca, Scalvini, we don't know how they'll return. It's just unbelievable. But yeah, we will discuss that in more detail in the interview. Quick note on Paul Pogba, who has had his 4-year drug ban reduced to 18 months. So he can start training in January, and then he will be allowed to play officially from March. My understanding is that this probably is not going to change much in terms of his Juventus career, in that it looks like they're going to work and discuss about doing a termination. So he's unlikely to play for Juventus again. It's probably a blow for Juventus from a financial point of view, because they've not been paying him anything. They've been paying him a statutory wage since the drug ban. I don't know legally, do they have to start paying him his 10 million a season from March if he's still there, or if they pay him off, are they going to have to pay for part of that remainder of his contract? Or, as I've seen reported, it's possible that if you are banned for, I think I read 6 months or more with a drugs ban, which obviously has been the case before, you can actually then terminate a player's contract without paying for them. I don't know legally what
depends
will come
on
of
the terms of the contract as well.
Yeah.
I mean, and people make their contracts. We'll see. But
yeah,
I do
think this is the right, from Pogba's point of view, I do think this is the right decision. I think it was ridiculously overboard, massively overboard, to give him a 4-year drug ban for this kind of drug offence, in which it's your first offence, I thought 4 years was mental.
Yeah, I thought that was too
Mentally
harsh
long.
too. Usually, for a first-time offender as well, I mean, you usually give 2 years for that.
Yeah, 18 months to 2 years,
yeah.
I think is 18 months
That's
is I think is
usually. I thought
I
about
think is
4 years was very exaggerated.
yeah.
But yeah, I just think, yeah, but regardless, he's not coming back to Juve. And I think that we can consider this the worst return to a club in football history. I can't think of a player returning to a club and having a more torrid time than Paul Pogba's
No
return to
doubt
Juve.
about it. No doubt about it. Pound for pound, given the salary, given the level of
Like,
importance that was supposed to be put on him. You know?
it's been a disaster.
Yeah.
It's been an unmitigated disaster. And yeah,
Yeah. But it's good. It'll be good to have him back because I mean, I mean, Thiago Motta kind of said it all. Said Paul Pogba was a great player. That said it all, really, about what Juventus think about him, and what probably everyone thinks about him now. He was a great player, but he hasn't played for a long time. But it'll be good to have him back. He'll be 32 when he's back, and hopefully he can still play at some kind of European level where we can kind of enjoy him because he's still enjoyable to watch. But yeah, good to have him back. Roma, difficult week for Roma. They lost to Elfsborg. What did you describe Elfsborg as?
Elfsborg is from Borås, and Borås is this kind of hell that never stops raining. So,
Yeah.
no, yeah,
But it was a bit of a hell. It was a bit of a hellhole for Roma to visit. They lost the game and then they drew here against Monza. Yeah, not a good week for Roma after a decent start to his time at Roma for Juric.
What do you make of the penalty situation that they should have had?
Again, I come back to exactly what Fonseca said. Like, the penalties are too cheap. I mean, that should not be a penalty. Do I think it in today's day and age that it warrants a penalty? I still probably say no. To be honest with you, I think it's just kind of two players coming into contact with one another, and I don't think I don't think it's a penalty. Do I think it should be a penalty? 100% no. I don't. What do you think?
I think it's more of a penalty than what we saw in Fiorentina Milan.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. If this was in the Fiorentina Milan game, this definitely gets given as a penalty. I don't put it this way. I don't get why all the fuss about this. Like all the.
No, I do get why the fuss is about, because again, it's the same league, and when you have these drastically different levels of what is a penalty, what isn't a penalty, you're gonna get people pissed off. I get why Roma are angry. I completely get it, because you look at Torino Inter, you see that penalty. You look at Fiorentina Milan, you look at those three penalties, and then you look at your game and you're like, well, why are we not given them then? I get the frustration. I 100% get it. But the problem is that none of them are penalties and they shouldn't be given. Like, do you know what I mean? So again, and I think it goes back to what I said. I think the start of the season has been really good from the referees. I think they've held a consistent line. Very high level, and this weekend was a huge deviation from that, and I hope they nip this in the bud and we return back to the level we were, because I don't want this season to turn into a shit show, because this is how it turns into a shit show. When one thing is a penalty, three things that are penalties in one game, and something that's worse than all those three combined is not in another in the same match day. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, this is what creates the shit show in the Serie A. And I hope that they nip this in the bud. I don't expect them to. I hope they do, because I don't trust Rocky. I trust him as far as I can throw an elephant. But it's a shame, and I do understand that Roma are pissed. I do get that 100%.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's I don't I understand that, but it's not penalty, and I think Roma are. They created chances, and I thought Dovbyk, first of all, I thought that was a brilliant finish. Like,
it was a brilliant finish, but he should have scored at least two. I mean, he missed quite a few as well. He's on a good trajectory. He's working well, but he should have scored more. He had more chances to score.
Well,
more.
Pellegrini.
And I got to say,
Pellegrini should have scored.
Yeah, Pellegrini for sure as well. He's not having a good start to the season, absolutely. But the goal that Monza scored is a mistake from Svilar. I mean, if you're out there, you see he touches it, he should take that. That ball has to be saved. You can't just touch it like that and basically lay it on a platter for Motta to tap in. So no, it was a setback. It was a bad week for Roma overall. But I'm sure they'll bounce back. They get the calm they haven't had since De Rossi was sacked. It's 2 weeks. Juric gets a little bit of time to kind of land and build, and I'm sure Roma will come out stronger after the international break. But yeah, this is a game they should have won. You talk about Juve with missed points. This was a missed opportunity by Roma. This is a game they should have won in order to continue in the race for the top four.
Yeah, I think Nesta probably saved himself for another day with this. I think if they'd have lost this, then they're bottom of the league. They're joint bottom now. They're on 4 points, but they're only 1 point from safety, and they've got a tough game out of the way. So yeah, I think Nesta saves himself, like I said last week, for the next 2 matches. I think will be decisive for him. They've got Verona and Venezia in their next 2 games, and Venezia are bottom. Joint bottom with Monza, and then Verona, obviously a fellow kind of relegation. So I think those if he loses those 2, or maybe gets a point from those 2, then I think then he might lose his job. Lazio, though,
I think you're right. But I just got to say on Nesta, I got to say as far as like personalities go, he's been a real breath of fresh air in the Serie A. He says funny things, and he's very relaxed and joking about it.
He speaks quite honestly as well.
Very honest, and there's no bullshit with him, and it's actually quite fun to discover this side of Alessandro Nesta.
No, for sure. Before the game, there was concerns about having a referee from Rome, and he says, "Well,
it was hilarious.
He might be a Lazio fan."
And he just turns that on his head and it's like, how do you know he's a Romanista? Maybe he's a Lazio fan. Yeah, it was very funny. He's been like this. He's a very sincere person in the sense that he's very genuine. Like when Swedish TV followed Sven-Goran Eriksson on his farewell tour, and he went to Genoa when Sampdoria were playing, and with Roberto Mancini, and Nesta was the coach of the opponent. And I can't remember who it was, who Sampdoria were playing in the Serie B, but he's a very, very genuine person when he was speaking about Sven-Goran, and he was like, well, this man is the reason I had a career, and he said he made me a captain, and when I was just a kid, and I was like, are you sure? And he's very, very, very honest and very sincere.
He is. I can confirm that because I've met him in person, and we made a cake for him. My dad. Really? Yeah, don't you remember? My dad presented it to him, and made his. He was there with his son, and my dad made Nesta's son eat the cake. He wouldn't let him go until he ate the cake. He was like, no, you have to eat, man. And then he got Nesta's son had got cream on his nose when he was eating. His son's only about 15. Looks just like him, just like Nesta, really handsome, young, good-looking young boy, and
also very
he was lovely kid, just like his dad. His dad was very, very down to earth. He was really interested. He loved the cake. We'd made a cake for him. We made a specially made cake. We put his Nesta. We wrote his name on there. We put the Milan badge, the Milan colours on the cake, and we presented it to him. Nice. He was there with Masada. He is a lovely guy. So I really hope he can turn things around with.
Yeah, same. I like him. I really do like him.
Talking about his former club Lazio, though, they're in great form at the moment. Probably after Napoli, maybe the most kind of informed team in Serie A right now, and they move up level with Juventus in the table after beating Empoli 2-1. Empoli's first defeat of the season in Serie A. And Pedro is the hero, 37 years old, and he's still doing it. Scored a great goal. So that was a really, really good story. But I want to highlight Tavares, Nuno Tavares.
Yeah, I was just about to say
what a monster he is down the left. Five assists now in a row, which increases his record, extends his record, which had already broken the week before, where he became the first new signing in Serie A to get 4 assists in a row at the start of the season. He's now made it 5 in a row, and he did a great bit of individual play to kind of make space for himself, get the cross in for Zaccagni to do that looping header to equalise after Empoli had taken the lead, and he also went on a brilliant work in the build up to the penalty, which Lazio missed. He was again like he's just a monster down that, like a machine down that left flank. He's like a horse, isn't he?
He just never stops running.
Never stops. Yeah,
And
galloping.
the deliveries are brilliant too. I mean, it was a wonderful header for Zaccagni, and you know, he also was very integral in just all as an option goes. He was very important, and obviously he was very important for the penalty that Castellanos missed. But no, look, Lazio, Baroni's doing great, and it was very interesting to see what he said afterwards about where he praised Sarri, saying, "I'm basically, building upon the great work of my predecessor." He is doing good work there, and they are, they are playing good football. I think Rovella's been really good so far. And there are question marks defensively, let's put it that way, but they create a lot in terms of chances and XG. If you look at it, they create a hell of a lot.
I like their mentality, and also he seems to have already created quite a good kind of team unity as well. Like they seem to be playing together, which is really positive.
No, they are.
He's definitely the only real negative so far this season. I mean, defense has been a little bit shaky. Providel's having a really bad season. Like they're winning despite Providel at the moment. I don't know what was he doing on that Empoli goal. I mean,
he slipped apparently, but still he shouldn't be, like, I don't know. I think
he's making a lot of mistakes.
This
season.
They do, and they do. They should probably look at. I mean, he's pushing 32, Providel. If this continues, they should probably look into trying to. They've got Mandas there, and who did all right last season. I don't know, but they should probably look at trying to phase him out and bring in someone else, because you can't. It's not. This isn't sustainable. Like, it's just not. You can't have a goalkeeper who's this out of form.
Yeah, for sure. It'll come to bite them at some point. Atalanta Genoa, the Retegui show, hat-trick, brilliant hat-trick, assist as well. 7 goals in 7 games in Serie A, goal average of 1 goal every 68 minutes this season, which is insane. And he has, with 7 goals in 7 games, he's reached a milestone only achieved by 4 Italian players before, Baggio and Mario Balotelli in the last 30 years.
What,
including Baggio and Balotelli, I should say.
You mean 7 goals in 7 opening games?
7 Serie A, his first 7 Serie A appearances. Yeah.
Well, I'm feeling very, very happy about my pre-season prediction that he's going to be Capocannoniere.
Yeah, he's looking good, isn't he?
And I'm also very, very pleased about my prediction that Marcus Thuram was going to score more goals than Lautaro, and that we're going to have a Serie A goal scorer where we have potentially 4 players above 20 goals. I think Dusan, Retegui, Thuram, and Kvara are all going to get above 20 goals this season in the Serie A. I still think Retegui's going to be above that 25-28 goals minimum, because I think he showed everything today in terms of the killer he is in the box. But one thing that we've praised this season and we've not seen before, his link-up play, his awareness of where his teammates are, his passing, that back heel for the goal.
Absolutely, that is where he's surprised me and even proven me wrong. I didn't think he had that. I didn't think he had that in him. I've always said incredible finisher, incredible in the air, lethal, clinical. If he has a chance, he'll bury it. Generally a good penalty taker as well. Apart from that, obviously, I know he missed one against Arsenal, but his all-round game. I mean, I still don't want to call it yet, because I kind of, part of me thinks he's going to go back to last season. But it's like we're 2 months into the season now, and his all-round game and his link up with his teammates, and even his protection
and hold up
like that. He was a bit of a Vlahovic last season with his hold up back to play. Like he didn't really seem to have that in him, and now, like, just like overnight, is
He's outstanding in that
Yeah.
in that aspect.
Well, if he
And
continues like this, I don't want to call it. If he continues like this, he's going to become potentially one of the best strikers around, not just in Serie A. If he continues like this, because then he's virtually almost the complete striker, really, or
yeah,
the complete number 9, let's say. He's not going to dribble and beat players and score those kind of goals, but he's yeah, fantastic, and a great week for Atalanta. Two big wins. They destroyed Shakhtar. I mean, that's one of the biggest destructions I've seen. They absolutely destroyed them. Could have won 6-0 that game, and they picked it up now after a tough start. They had 2 wins in their first 8 games. They've 2 wins in a row, and it's a shame. They're probably a bit gutted. It's going to an international break. They probably wanted to continue, didn't they? This kind of form. So yeah, good for Atalanta, but Genoa. We said it last week.
I worry
think
about Gilardino, and
I'm
I'm sorry.
worried. I think that they're a real risk of relegation
Agreed.
on paper. On paper, this team is a relegation candidate now. I think it's a relegation attack. I mean, Goodmanson and Retegui sold was suicide, but Malinovsky has been the added killer. And you look at the players that are there in attack. It's a relegation attack. Who's going to score the goals to keep them up? And then you look further down the team and you think the defense is decent. I think De Winter's a really good player, but it's not a strong enough defense or a strong enough midfield to overcome the weakness, the impotency of the attack.
No, they killed the season before it started by selling Goodmanson and Retegui. I mean, the Genoa fans are fuming at that. They were actually expecting a good season. Everything was sorted. They kept everyone together. Everything was looking good. And then just before the season starts, they sell the 2 starters. I mean, it's stupid. And they are angry, and I get that they are angry, and they have every right to be angry. And I can't really blame Gilardino, because I'm sorry, but what, like you said, what have they got? I mean, what do you expect him to do? Pinamonti and Vitinha? I mean, what are we expecting here?
Yeah.
And it's not good at all. It's worrying, and I feel it's bad, because I actually think he's got a career. I really do think there is something very interesting building there. But I do want to talk, just Atalanta. They're really getting into their stride now, aren't they? Like they're always such inconsistent starters. But then then now it feels like after this week, well, Atalanta are back now, and now we see what they can do. And Shakhtar, yes, they destroyed them. They destroyed Genoa. They got, after the international break, they got Venezia away, Celtic at home, Verona, Monza, and then Napoli.
So they can go on a run before
they can go on a run,
Mm.
yeah, and that's important, and especially the Celtic game. I mean, I don't want to discount them, but they should win that. And Venezia and Verona and Monza are teams they usually they should be able to just easily see them off. So they could go on a run here, and it's interesting because now is when the season starts. Really, it's been preliminary rounds. Now we actually go into the first indication of where these clubs are going and what kinds of seasons they're having.
Yeah, for sure. Inter, thriller, another thriller, 5-goal thriller. Inter are having some thrillers this season, aren't they? 3-2, but this is all again, it's all about Thuram, hat-trick, joint top scorer with Retegui in the Capocannoniere rankings, and he's
no penalties.
And
That's
no penalties, yeah.
important.
Retegui's had 2 penalties, yeah.
Yeah. Look, this was an important win for Inter, but Inter are concerning me. They concede way too much. That first goal is just, what are they doing? Immediately after going 2 up, that is not good enough. This is just not good enough. The penalty I don't count because I think it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. But the Zapata immediately after Thuram scores the second and Inter second, the easy way in which Torino can go through, because the Inter aren't able to collectively counter those kinds of runs. similarly to like when they conceded a goal against Milan in the derby when Pulisic just ran through them. I don't know what that is. Is it a structural issue, or is it just a physical issue that they don't seem to be switched on like they used to last season? Maybe a bit of both. I think more physical, at least Inzaghi thinks so, and I kind of agree with him because he's given players 3-4 days off. He wants to rest Inter back into form. But if Inter are going to be in this Scudetto race, they have to tighten up that defense, because 9 goals in 7 games conceded is way too much. And again, conceding late. Okay, a penalty that wasn't a penalty, but still, again, another goal in the last 15 minutes from a team that last season barely conceded a goal in the last 15 minutes. This is concerning. This is really, really concerning. And Mkhitaryan and Inzaghi and Sommer and everyone is aware of it, and they were all talking about it, that this is a problem. So from an Inter perspective, in terms of long term going for a Scudetto, not very comfortable, not very confident at all. But you know, in attack they have 2 strikers, they have 3 strikers that score. Okay, Taremi is still yet to score in the Serie A. He should have scored one in this game. But Thuram is going for it. He's Inter's top goal scorer in the Serie A, and I think he will finish that, because I think Lautaro will be more important in the Champions League. I think that's what they're saving him for, and I think that's what he's got his own target set at as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure. The big negative black mark on this game is, of course, the Zapata injury, which, as we're recording, it hasn't been confirmed that he's done his ACL. I don't believe, but all the reports have been that they think he's done his ACL. So yeah, that is sad news, because I
but
think he's very important for Torino's attack,
no,
isn't
he's
he?
fundamental. They don't have another striker that can do what he does. So hopefully they don't have that. But as we were talking about, you know, now the season starts. Now the season really starts for Inter. After the international break, Roma away, Young Boys in the Champions League away, Juve at home, Empoli away, Venezia at home, Arsenal at home, and Napoli. This is the next tour de force, as Inzaghi likes to call it. This next month will decide if Inter, what Inter are. Are Inter serious contenders in the Serie A? We'll know after these games, because they're games that last season Inter won every single one of them. They would have beaten every single. They beat Juve at home. They beat Roma away. Empoli, Venezia at home. They would have won that. Napoli at home. They would have won that. Like, we'll know in about a month's time if Inter are the real deal in the Serie A or not. And if this is just a structural issue, or if this is just a fatigue issue defensively, because that's going to be key, especially against a Napoli and above all a Juve that don't concede anything. So, you know, from, you know, up until this point, preliminary, Inter are still there. They're only 2 points off Napoli, but the next month with this run of games coming up, that's what we'll know if Inter are the real deal and are going to mount a serious title defense or not.
For sure. Well, one team that are looking closer to the real deal is Napoli, and they were really made to suffer in this game against Como, which they eventually won 3-1. I mean, the first half, they were actually outplayed for much of it in overall play. I mean, Como really, really impressed me. I thought they were really, really good. But the second half, they shut it down, they squeezed the game, and they were clinical in this game. They buried their 3 big chances, and they've showed that, you know, they can win when they're on top. They can win when they're playing on the back foot. They stayed compact. I mean, I thought Como really were dominating the first half, but despite that, Napoli still conceded very few kind of like big chances, even when Como were dominant. And so I think that, at the moment Napoli are really, they're doing everything that's expected of them, and their new signings are also doing well. I mean, McTominay, has had a really good impact. He scored within 30 seconds. He's a great finisher. He has goals in his blood, as Conte said, and he's been very efficient and working well in the system. And David Neres as well as an impact player, a bit like Conceição at Juventus. He's really, really dangerous when he comes off the bench, and he scored a nice goal as well. So yeah, Napoli looking good. They stay top going into the international break. They're on this good little run. They've increased their lead over Juventus and over Milan. So they're everything's going really well for Napoli.
No, it is, and I'm not surprised because this is Antonio Conte. Playing once a week, he got the players he wanted. They gave him what he wanted. A lot of people scratch their heads, as they always do with Conte. I'd say we're right on Conte's schedule. Difficult pre-season, lots of arguing, moaning, and things not going his way in terms of players. He finally gets what he wants. The opening game didn't go so well, but then he gets angry. He gets everyone fired up, and they go on a run, and here they are. But more importantly for me, as I tweeted out, is him winning a league with a team that he shouldn't be winning a league with, playing once a week, is not unique. He's done it before. But doing it playing a 4-2-3-1 with Scott McTominay as his number 10 might just be his masterpiece. This guy he's such a fascinating person because he hasn't changed in the sense of identity. It's still calcio verticale. It's still Conte ball. But the fact that he adapts his formation now, and he has shown that Napoli can play a 3-4-2-1, they can play a 3-5-2, but they can also play a 4-2-3-1. If he's managed to incorporate that skill into his toolbox, then he's unbelievable. He's just almost unbeatable, especially when he's playing once a week.
And especially that when he gets ahead, if he starts getting ahead in the league, and I'm just a word of warning to Inter and Juventus in particular, because I mean it's still not much. They've got a 2-point lead over Inter and a 3-point lead over Juventus. That's nothing. But if that becomes 6 points, 5, 6, 7, and Napoli playing once a week, and they're getting and then the pressure is on Juventus and Inter, especially with Juventus and Inter playing in Europe. Players are going to get tired. The managers are going to have to start thinking about rotation. And when you rotate and when you're tired and you're traveling, when you're already under pressure, that adds to the pressure and makes it even more difficult to win. They just need to be careful and just keep an eye on the fixture list coming up in the next 2 match rounds. Napoli play Empoli and Lecce in their next 2 match days. Those are games you expect them to get 6 points from, right? Juventus are playing Lazio at home. As I already said earlier, a decimated Juventus in attack. That is against a Lazio team in form. That's a risky game. That's a game that they could easily drop points in. Inter play away at Roma again. A very difficult game away that could easily be a draw, or they could drop points in. And then what's the next game after that? Inter Juventus. So do you know what I mean? So if Napoli pick up 6 points, I mean it's quite conceivable that Inter and Juventus could drop points in both of those games. All of a sudden, what are we talking about? We're talking about potentially 5, 6, 7, even 8, 9 points over these teams.
But we should also concede that after Napoli play away to Empoli and home to Lecce, they've got Milan away, Atalanta at home, Inter away, and Roma at home after the international break. So they do have a very tough stretch coming up. But like you said, you do not let that man build a 5, 6, 7 point lead ahead of you in the league, because then he just runs with it. He just don't do that. So like you said, Inter and Juve need to pay close attention here, because he could, because then, if he's got 6 points going into the Milan away game, and how he can shut games down and counter it, like you said against Como, he could do that against anyone. And you don't want to do that, because then you could find yourself in a situation after match day 13 where Conte's built up a 9-point lead. And then that's that.
And then it's all over.
Well, it's over. It's over. He doesn't lose leads like that.
Yeah.
You know? And the vibe around Napoli too, everything around him, he has got everyone behind him. Like, you can tell from the caretaker to the guy who cuts the grass to Francesco, to Salvatore who does the pizza. Like, he has got everyone behind him, literally everyone. And he's good at that. He's good at building us against the world mentality, not just in the squad but around the club. And he's definitely done that already. They're going to obviously have situations this season where they might not be in form, and we'll see how they react to that. But I'm just saying, if the warning bells are not ringing at Appiano and Continassa, then they need to pay attention, because this thing could be over before December. It's like, you do not let that man build up a 9 to 12 point lead ahead of you, because then you're screwed.
Yeah, for sure. I do want to give a shout out though to Como. They've really won me over. We had some questions on them, didn't we? After the first few weeks, they didn't look good at all. But they've been really impressive. They won the 2 games before. I think Conte said that he considered them the most informed team in Serie A, which may be an exaggeration, but they are that's what Conte does, isn't it? But they look good, and I think Fabregas definitely wants somebody to watch in the next years, because you can see the way that you can see his concepts, his patterns of play, his identity, the pressing, the way that his teams keep the ball and create those angles. You can see that, and he's doing it with quite an ordinary group of players. I mean, they had over 60% possession when I checked at one point in the game. I'm not sure how much possession they finished the game with, but they won more tackles, they won more aerials, they had better pass success rate than Napoli. That's part of the identity of Fabregas. I think he's definitely somebody to watch. Very interesting coach to watch. But I thought that they played really, really well in the first half, especially, and they were just let down by bad defending. I mean, they gifted Napoli that 2-1 with a stupid penalty. Otherwise, who knows what could have happened after that. So I think that now, looking at that, I think they're probably going to be fine this season, having kind of had a few doubts. And I don't want to speak about him now, because we've got a question in the Q&A episode about Nico Paz. What a talent this guy is. He is a special young talent. But we've got a question about him, so we'll do a little profile of him in our Q&A. But he was, in the first half, he was magical in this game. Great player to watch. The rest of Serie A, the other results: Verona 2, Venezia 1, Udinese 1, Lecce 0. So Udinese's great start to the season continues. They are now up to level with Juventus, I believe, in the table. They are joint third with Lazio and Juventus. So great win for them. And then Bologna 0, Parma 0. The draw specialists, Bologna, and a rare clean sheet for Parma. So yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, Fabio Pecchia's Parma keep a clean sheet. That did not see that coming.
No,
But Parma have a problem with discipline, don't they? I mean, I think this was like their 3rd or 4th red card this season that they've suffered. They do have a discipline.
Yeah, they got to be a bit careful. I'm a bit concerned that they could be. I've seen others saying this. They could end up being a bit of a Frosinone, like exciting, blowing everyone away at the start of the season. Everyone really saying, they've got so many kind of talented youngsters, which they do, that can develop, but kind of a bit too, open generally, and a bit too chaotic, and it could end up going wrong for them. So they need to be a bit careful. That would be a shame, because they are a really good team to watch.
But just Venezia, just a brief word on that. That's a very important win for Verona, because when you're heading into March, April, and you're looking at where you are in the relegation battle, wins like that early on are so dear to you. Like those 3 points are so important. And they continue to impress Verona. It's really incredible to me when I look at that team that Verona are 12th. I mean, it's just I don't understand how they keep doing these miracles. It's so impressive. I thought this year was going to be the year, and it still could be, where they luck, well, not luck, but quote unquote, runs out. But no, they're still there. I am worried, however, for Lecce, and I wonder how much longer Corvino has patience with Luca Gotti. I hope he does, because I think Gotti's a good coach. But sorry, 3 goals scored in 7 games, 12 conceded. It's worrying for Lecce. And they're right there with Monza, Venezia, Genoa, Lecce, Parma, Cagliari. That's where this is looking, crystallizing to be the relegation battle to be. So we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, just before we finish off with Baggio...
I love how you don't care when I go on these relegation battles. I can literally just hear you zoning out.
Well, no,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, no, I'm also conscious of the time. We're 1 hour and 15 minutes into the show, and
I just love it. Every time I go on these relegation battle tirades, I can just hear you zoning out.
It's true. I do sometimes. Yeah, I do. I don't zone out on the Italy national team, though. That's for sure. No. And they are back this week. The UEFA Nations League is back. Italy play twice. So on Thursday, Italy play against Belgium in Rome at the Stadio Olimpico, hoping to make it 3 wins out of 3 in their group. Remember that the top 2 qualify for the quarterfinals of the Nations League. Italy are top with 6 points currently, followed by France and Belgium, who have 3 points. So a win here will put Italy pretty much on the brink of qualifying, which will be really, really good and impressive. So let's do a little preview of the game against Belgium on Thursday. First of all, Nima, I want us just to discuss Luciano Spalletti's squad selection and what we think of it. So I'll read out the squad. The goalkeepers are Donnarumma, Vicario, and a first call-up for Di Gregorio of Juventus. Defence are Bastoni, Buongiorno, Calafiori, Gabbia, who has got his first call-up for Italy from Milan, Okoli, Cambiasso, Bellanova, Di Marco, Di Lorenzo, and Udogi. Then the midfield is Tonali, Ricci, Fagioli, Fratesi, Pellegrini, and a first call-up, surprisingly, for Pizzilli of Roma. And then the attack is Retegui, Raspadori, Moisakin, and a first call-up for Daniele Maldini, which continues the incredible Maldini dynasty, in which both his father, Paolo Maldini, of course, and his grandfather, Cesare Maldini, both, of course, legends of the game, both played for Italy, and he could become the third in that line, which is unbelievable, really. What a family. So that's the squad. If we look at first of all, which players, what do you think of the new call-ups, first of all? Do you think... I think Gabbia is deserved. I'm happy that he's in there.
Gabbia deserves. Yeah. I think Gabbia deserves. I think Maldini kind of... I wouldn't have picked him, but I can't complain too much because I think he's been good for Monza too. But and also, given the situation that we have up front, there's not really that much to... he could have revived the Patrick Cutrone project, but I think he would have been heavily criticized for that.
No. Yeah, I think with Maldini is partly a sign of just how our lack of options, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's also, I'd rather, also at the same time, I'd rather him give someone like Maldini a try, see what he's like, rather than going with someone that we know already is not up to it. Do you know what I mean? Someone that we've tried before that we know is not going to be good enough. And I'd probably include Zaccagni. Don't see the point of... Zaccagni's been good this season. I like him, but 29 years old. He'll be 31 by the time of the World Cup. And we know he's not really suited to this system either. So, we might as well try somebody else. If he's not good enough, he's not good enough. Pizzilli is a little bit of a surprising one. I think maybe a bit premature given how little he's played.
I was going to say it's an interesting call up. It's a little bit premature, maybe in terms of what he's actually done. But I mean, Brescianini's injured. He was there. He would have definitely been in here. No, I quite like.
Di Gregorio, I think, is fully deserved. He's been really, really good this
Well, he
season.
has to be called. Like, there's
Yeah.
no. Like,
What's
he has
interesting
to
about
be
Di
there.
Gregorio is that, obviously he's brilliant with his feet. And in terms of kind of like the build-up play, depending, if Spalletti wants to be more natural, with that, probably more suitable. Having said that, though, Spalletti was stuck with Meret, who can't play with his feet at Napoli, and still did pretty well. And now he's obviously got Donnarumma, who's not very good with his feet, and I just can't see dropping Donnarumma, to be honest with you. But yeah,
No, you
it's
don't
just
drop
it's an
Donnarumma.
interesting. It's an interesting dynamic there that they have now got somebody who is fantastic with his one of the best with his feet in the squad. But in terms of the players that are not there, the controversial ones are, well, first of all, those that are injured are Barella and Brescianini, so they're out because of injury, and Chiesa as well, because he's still not fit enough really to get to be called up. He missed the Champions League game against Bologna through injury, and then that was it really from there. But there's two controversial ones: the two Juventus absentees, Gatti out of the squad, given how brilliant he is. That is a little bit surprising for me. The only explanation I can think is that Spalletti feels that, and I feel this. I feel that
Too many
Gatti.
left-footed players.
Oh right, yeah. Well, I feel that Gatti is better in a four. I think he's more suited in a four. I think that when he plays in a three, he has a bit of the Skriniar symptom of being a little bit not so good defending laterally in space, like moving quickly in space, covering those gaps between the wing backs. Covering those areas where when he's centre back, he can play in a more of a compact defence where he can hold the line. He can make use of his kind of old-fashioned defending, which I think he's very, very good at. Whereas when you're in a three, you have to cover more space, and that's my only that can be the only thing I can think of, because he deserves to be in the squad otherwise.
For me, it's more surprising Caleb Okoli. I mean, I like Okoli in the Serie A. I just don't. I don't know
Yeah.
why he keeps insisting with him. Like, what's the thinking there? Would be interesting to
It can
hear him
only be
talk
that he's
about.
thinking long term with him, can't it?
Yeah,
Because he's
probably.
not doesn't deserve it right now, does he?
No,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
And the midfield is Locatelli not being
Locatelli's the
called
other
up.
one. I mean, what do you
I
think
don't
of?
get that.
Do you think it's a Caso now? I mean, what do you think?
Well, it is. Of course, it's a caso. What's happened between them? Like, what is this? It
Is it a
can't just be.
footballing reason?
Well, I don't know. That's what I'm wondering. Is it a footballing reason? Is it more than that? What's the issue?
Yeah. Yeah, I find it strange because he has been really, really good. I mean, he has been rotated at Juventus, but he's been really good this season for Juve. And I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? The only thing I could think
Yeah.
of is he thinks of him as the deep line player, and now he's Richie and maybe Fagioli are those players he sees as the deep liars. He doesn't think he has a tactical place in the team.
I don't know. I don't understand why Locatelli can't be in this team if you're going to play a 3-5-2. It's a midfield three. What's the problem? I don't get it. I really don't get it. Tonali, Ricci, Fagioli, Fratesi, Pellegrini, fine. But why is, like, instead of Pisili, I think Locatelli should be there. Yes, I do think that. That to me, I don't get.
Yeah, yeah, I don't get it at all. Okay, probable 11. Obviously, we're recording this on Monday, so this could change depending on training and everything. But it's probably he'll stick with the 3-5-2 or the 3-5-1-1, and that's for sure. We're looking at in defence. We're looking at goalkeeper Donnarumma, and then you got Di Lorenzo, Bastoni, and Calafiori. The only doubt really is if Buongiorno plays, he could play potentially in the centre with Bastoni on the left and Calafiori dropping out, or as has been suggested, I've seen that Di Lorenzo could drop out and Calafiori could go right centre back because he's actually been used by Arsenal at right back this season by Arteta. He's so adaptable. for Calafiori. You can basically play him in any position. I feel like you could almost play him up front. Like maybe it's the answer to Italy's striker problem. Just play Calafiori in attack. Play him as a forward. I mean, you can play him anywhere. So, I mean, that has been suggested. I don't know whether he will do that. But then the wing backs, I think, probably are nailed in. Cambiasso and Di Marco. I think that's pretty confident that will be the case. And then in midfield, because Barella's out, I think Fratesi and Tonali as the more forward players are probably they should play. Then you're looking at Ricci or Fagioli is probably what we're looking at. We're looking at one of those two as the kind of the deeper line player. I would like to see Ricci. I want to see him stick with Ricci. I want him to get a run of games and real kind of like nail down that position. Certainly for this game. And then in attack, Retegui, I think, should start. I mean, the form that he's in, he has to, surely. And then it's a bit of a ballottaggio who is going to play as the other. Is it going to be Raspadori, who seems to be the favourite for now, or is it going to be more of a midfielder, so like a Pellegrini, like they did against France, or is he going to go for two more out and out strikers and put Keane in there? So those are really the question marks for Italy.
Yeah, I think he's going to, against Belgium, I think he's going to go with a 3-5-1-1, like against France. Retegui is a sole striker, maybe Pellegrini is a number 10, and then then I think he's going to have Tonali, Ricci, and Fratesi as the mid three behind. And on the wings, I think it's going to be Di Marco and Cambiasso, and I think he's going to start Di Lorenzo, Bastoni, and Calafiori, with Donnarumma in goal. I think he's going to go with 3-5-1-1 against Belgium. I think that's what he's going for.
Yeah. As for Belgium, though, I mean, this is a very different Belgian team than from what we've seen really over the last kind of 10 years. The golden generation is gone. I mean, Hazard, Mertens, Vertonghen, Alderweireld, they're all gone. But also, Courtois retired because he doesn't get on with the coach. De Bruyne and Lukaku are both. De Bruyne is injured. Lukaku, Conte's demanded probably that he rest so he can have 2 weeks. 1 week's not enough to prepare for a game, so he gets 2 weeks to prepare for the Napoli game. So Lukaku's not there. He's not there. So this Belgium team on paper is very, very much weaker. I mean, it still has quality in attack. I mean, there's still there's Doku, there's Trossard, there's Bakayoko from PSV, Openda, there's De Ketelare, of course, as well. So there is quality there in attack. But if we're looking at the probable formation, they're playing a 4-2-3-1. We're looking at probably Castells in goal, who I think is in Saudi Arabia now, or in the Middle East. Castagna will definitely be one of the fullback positions. We're probably looking at Fez and Tayati, who used to play for Bologna in Serie A. De Bast or De Koipo. So that's the back as the other fullback. That will be the back four. Then in midfield, it will be two Tielemans as one of the holding midfielders, together with, it would usually be Onana, but he's missed the last game for Villa with an injury. Tedesco said that he will be there though, so we'll see whether he starts. If not, it'll probably be Mangala from Lyon, and then the three attacking midfielders. We're looking at either Luca Bacchio or Bakayoko as the right wing. Doku will probably be on the left wing, and then in the centre, we're probably looking at De Ketelare, or maybe they can find a way to put Trossard, to get Trossard in there. And then the striker, we're probably looking at Openda from Leipzig. So that's the team. It's not a team that really scares me. It's a team that can be quite dangerous. I think there are some talented players in attack, but it's a team, if I'm giving a prediction, Nima, it's a team that I'm expecting Italy to win this game, and I'm going to go 2-goal win for Italy.
I think this is one of those games where I think Italy are happy with a draw. They don't need to win this game. They got 6 points already, and I think from now they're just gonna try to micromanage this. I mean, in all reality, they only need 4 points, if we're honest, to qualify. I don't think they need any more than that to finish in the top two and reach the quarterfinals. Great start. So I don't think Italy are going to rush this too much. And Belgium, they're in the middle of a change. So they're on 3 points. They wouldn't mind a point here. Obviously, they prefer to win, to go level with Italy on points and go ahead of them in terms of head to head. But I expect Italy to at least draw this. That's where I am.
Yeah, I expect Italy to go for the win and try and go for it. I think Belgium are there for the taking with all their absentees. No Lukaku, no De Bruyne, no Courtois. They're their three big players, and I think they should. I think they should go and try and win this game for sure. Right, let's finish off with Baggio, Premface, and Serie Ass of the week. So Baggio of the week. Now, if Vlahovic hadn't have missed that chance to put Cagliari away, I would have gone Vlahovic, because I thought that what he did in the Leipzig game was incredible. Two great goals, and what Juventus did in that game was really quite special. So I was going to go for Vlahovic, but now I don't know. I don't know who I would go for now. Maybe Atalanta. Maybe big win, big week for Atalanta. Maybe Lazio.
No, I think Retegui for me in that game was just outstanding. The 3 goals, the flick on that flick on, back heel flick on for Ederson was just delicious. I mean, it was so beautiful. And it's a part of this game that we've not, that we didn't. I'd certainly, and I know you didn't think he had it in him, but he's consistently showing up.
Yeah.
So no, for me, Retegui's.
I think De Gea has to be a Baggio as well for 2 penalty
for sure.
saves. I mean,
2 penalties, yeah, absolutely.
So he deserves it. Premface of the week, Nima. I swear we had 2 on here, but there's only 1 on here. So the commentator Steve Wilson for calling Baldanzi Balzini through the whole of the Roma game in Europe. Balzini. Apparently called him Barzini a couple of times.
No, he didn't. That's what you want him to call him. No, that's what you want him to call. There's no way he called him Barzini.
From The Godfather.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You want that. You just want to turn everything into a Godfather.
How many Godfather references can we get this season?
That's you. That's just you wanting to have a Godfather reference. If you called him Barzini, I'd die. Oh dear. So
that's our Premface of the week. Serie Ass of the week. Oh my gosh.
Quite a few.
Oh my gosh. The Serie A Twitter account, which dominates Serie Ass of the week, completely dominates it. They were on one this week. I mean, they went completely berserk this week. And the Napoli Como game. Oh my gosh. So when McTominay opens the scoring for Napoli after 30 seconds, they tweet out with a picture of Scott McTominay celebrating, I quote, "I'll take a haggis and enjoy watching Scott McTominay. Thanks."
What? What does that even mean? Like, what?
And then when Lukaku scored, they tweeted, I quote, "Big Ron," with an N, slots it home, 2-1. Not Big Ron, Big Ron. His name's Big Ron.
My favourite is the replies. Every famous person ever named Ron, like with a
Ron Atkinson was my favourite one.
Yeah, that was funny.
Big Ron.
And then also Ron Weasley from Harry Potter. There was
Ronald McDonald.
Ronald McDonald. It was very, very fun. The haggis one was just cringe. That just made me feel bad. But I think the absolute winner of the Serie A, this is one of those solo in Italia moments. This can only happen in Italy, in Italian football, where the mayor of this small municipality right outside of Milan, Corbetta, posts on Instagram that despite being an Inter fan, he's happy to welcome Milan striker Alvaro Morata to the town where he just bought a home. And Morata is like, you just kind of violated my privacy by doing that. And I'm going to have to move and find somewhere else because of the mayor's inability to use social media and protect his citizens. And then, of course, the mayor of the place posts an Inter logo on his Instagram story and says "Ciao" with an Inter heart, with black and blue hearts. I mean, this is the most Serie Ass story to have ever happened. This can only happen in Italy. Like, I don't even know where to. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, well, it explains a lot, doesn't it? Why Italy's like it is.
Like what? It's. I mean, of course, nothing's going to happen to Morata. They have security around these players, but it's just so stupid. Why would you do that? Why would you say that? Like, there's no need to do that. And then after realizing that you messed up, then go full on fanboy and say goodbye in Forza Inter. I mean, it's just God. So this is Serie Ass. This is like quintessential Serie Ass to me.
It sure was.
Mad.
It sure was. Okay, right, let's leave it at that. Extra long show for you this week, over an hour and a half. But I'm sure you'll love it. But we will be back. So this week we will have the Q&A later in the week. And we also will have an interview, as I said, with a top physiotherapist and sports scientist, an injury expert, to discuss the crisis, the ACL injury crisis that we're seeing in Italian, not just in Italian football, but
Well,
in
football.
football in general. But it's certainly harmed Italy more than most. So that will come out as well this week, and we might have some other stuff. We'll see about potentially a reaction to Italy, Belgium as well. But yeah, plenty for you anyway. So thank you for listening, everybody, and we will see you next time. Ciao, ciao.